Different, but pretty much the same. You know, I thought we might adjust a little bit and left it open-ended, but so far so good. We're staying healthy, and I got to really commend our guys, man. This is guys are really working.
I have to ask about Torrance Gibson. There was a report that he signed with a junior college. What can you tell us about that situation?
He came to see me, and I love Torrance. Very unfortunate the whole situation. So I don't think there's been anything finalized. I can assure you, as we always do, we'll do what's in the best interest of a student athlete. That's very unfortunate.
Front row right here, Austin.
Urban, I know you congratulated Luke on his new job. When those things come to be, and then you work through the month, and he's trying to double dip, how much of a challenge is that going to be for Luke over the next couple of weeks?
I would say for Luke, like Danny Mullen, like Tom Herman, and others do that. I did it. I remember. I was an assistant at Notre Dame, and they were good enough to let me finish the job and then go to Bowling Green. So as long as you're professional, we put together a calendar, and this much time's committed to the most important people, and that's our players and guys to play out. And then obviously you got a very big job ahead of them. The good thing is the recruiting calendar is very user-friendly for right now for what's going on. So the urgency is, and it's only an hour and a half away, but a problem if it's San Diego or something. So. And Luke's a pro.
How has your relationship with him changed, developed over the last? Because it seemed like the first couple of years it wasn't maybe the greatest coaching relationship in the world.
I'd like to hear Luke on that one. I'm going to give you my perspective that I did not want to keep him when I first got here. I met him a few times, very good gentleman and nice guy, and then our meeting went over the top, and I had a lot of respect for him and his beautiful family, and then we weren't very good on defense for a couple of years, and that stressed things just a touch around here. But one of the greatest things I've ever done was keep Luke Fickle, and he's a loyal, good man, and again, it's a very good friend of mine, and we'll be very close for a long time.
Second row right, Dave.
And he'll come back and say, yeah.
Urban, your kicker Tyler Durban had a great year. Got a little rattled in the Michigan game. Did you guys have to lift him up at all? And how confident are you kind of going into the next big situation here?
I'm not the best lifted up guy there is. I do love him. He's a guy that will be our kicker in the playoff game, and a guy that's got all the talent in the world. And he did miss two of them. And so, but he did come back and hit the one to get us there. And so. He'll be fine. We just gotta, in our own way, lift him up.
Looking back on that, was that clearly nerves to you?
Yeah. I mean, nerves. I looked, everything was, the ball was down, and didn't get too much into it. You know, I've learned a long time ago. If I trust the guys who are doing their job, I don't micromanage that operation. And you're dealing with Cam, who's the kind of the boss of that group, Cam Johnston. So they'll be fine.
Front row, Bill.
I know you must have contingency plans for what's going to happen post Luke. Can you shed any light on Kerry's expanded role, whether Greg Schiano will be the defensive coordinator?
I'm not finalized with all that yet. I can tell you that Kerry Combs will be expanded in the pass defense department. He's earned that right. With even more expanded role by Greg, he needs that. And what's going to happen down the road, I haven't made decisions yet.
I'm sorry, Eric. I don't know. Where's Eric? There you go. My bad. Third row left, Eric.
We saw Malcolm Pridgeon get his black stripe off. Malcolm Pridgeon, we saw him get his black stripe off, and I think he said like a healthy. What's kind of his status in terms of?
He's going to be a very good player here. He's not prepared to play. He's practicing with us, just individual, not scout work yet, but he's just a guy that we all love to death. He's done over and above beyond what we asked him, right? So that's why we did that. He has 2 years left though, so he'll play for us.
Front row left, Mitch.
Urban, so many times down the stretch this year, you seem to give the ball to JT with the game on the line. Did that become a conscious decision for you? You know, this is season on the line, game on the line. Let's give it to JT.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, you equate numbers a lot of times with the key run. I've always been that guy to give it to my best player in those situations. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, Braxton Miller was that guy. Tim Tebow was that guy. Zeke Elliott was that guy. Mike Weber on a fourth down, we gave it to him. So there's two reasons. It's not just the fact. It's it's the Q runs are hard to defend. And, we're facing as we get ready for Watson. So there's two reasons. Number one, and the most important, is JT. I know one thing about JT: if it's a chance, he'll get it. And number two is just the way numbers work out in offensive football.
Third row middle there, Nick?
Yeah, when you look at Clemson, you can see them on defense in the same game. They almost look like a different defense because they're so multiple. How do you prepare for that on offense?
Yeah, there's three different defenses we're going to face, and they're very game plan specific. So usually in the first two series of the game, you'll see what you're going to get for. But they're very multiple, and they're very unorthodox about when it's called. For example, in first down, normally it's run defense, sink an extra guy in the hat. And then as you get second along and third down, you see more nickel and more spacing in the back end of the defense. This group out of the blue, they'll play 3 cloud strong, which means that's a very strong pass defense on first down. And so I'm glad we have this much time, because we're spending a lot of time on that multiple looks.
I want to ask about the schedule too. The most a team can play is 15 games, and now it's 14, but there's been talk about going to 8. Do you have a position on the way it falls? Is 15 about right? Is that too many?
Yeah, it's about it. I don't know. I always, some people talk. I hear when the name of that comes up about money, I always come back about what about student athlete, what about class schedule, what about recruiting, what about NFL. When those kids make those decisions, so there's all this other conversation that other people have, because I guess that's their job. I know after doing it, would we go 14-1 in 1 year, 15 games? If they said, oh, but now, okay, no, one more, that'd be a tough one, especially when you start playing who you're playing it at the end. That was a championship game, Sugar Bowl, national title game. That'd be tough to tap on us to say, by the way, go one more. So I think the whole college model would have to change. The schedule, the scholarship limits, and certainly the calendar. There's no chance you can, finals or the classes start on championship day, I think. I remember a couple of our kids got unexcused absences when we beat Oregon. I was confused about it, but we worked it out right.
Far left, Matt.
This is also a bowl trip, yet it's your most important game, national semifinal. How do you want these guys to have fun, or how do you handle it when you get to Arizona and you're prepping for such an important game against them?
We have a pretty good system. We do have fun, and it's what's everyone's definition of fun. That means we act like a fool and drink and do stupid things. That's not our fun. If we have fun and practice and light things up once in a while, but the best fun is to go find a way to win a game, and that's a good thing. That's the culture here is very strong, and JT Barrett's his best way to have fun is be prepared for that game. Same with Raekwon McMillan, same with Tyquan Lewis, same with Noah Brown, and so get them. Here's what I learned over bowl games: get them great gifts. Grant as much money as you legally can give them. That's the food stuff and all that, snacks and all that stuff. What did I say? Great gifts, right? And then food. Make sure you got fantastic food for them and as much money in their pocket as possible. That's worked out pretty fun. That's fun for the 19-year-olds.
Front row left, Bill.
Urban, I know you're preparing to win a playoff game, obviously, but bowl practice is also valuable time for young guys to develop. In your mind, are there openings for young guys who maybe haven't had big roles to earn them, or
yeah,
are you
most of the guys
are
are playing. It's a little different team. The 2014 team, or even last year's team, it was an opportunity because there are a lot of veterans. This is the young guys are playing. So we're not like I usually take 15 minutes after practice to keep the young players out. And I was going to do that. I love our young players, and most of them are playing. And the other ones are very valuable scout team roles. So we're not doing a whole lot of that right now.
And then Curtis, I think, has the most receptions of an Ohio State receiver in like the last 20 years. In your mind, like, was he going to be that heavily involved in the pass catching game, or is that just sort of a development of?
We got to change that. We're going to really, obviously, we're going to become a good throwing team instead of. I mean, we're good now, efficiency-wise. I want to, we're going to really start expanding that. I'm going to work hard at it. But yeah, I think, Curtis is an exceptional receiver.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, you have a lot of experience bringing in really highly rated recruits. And I think maybe sometimes when you bring them in and they do well, they just meet expectations. I'm getting to Raekwon. For him to come in as what he was, he plays an important role in a national championship team as a freshman. We see what he's done the last 2 years. Maybe you expected it, but just a path like that for a kid like that, how is Raekwon McMillan just sort of taking care of business during his time here?
Probably one of the top 2 or 3 I've ever been around. He's from the day he walked in, and that's a credit to his family. He's a grown man. He handles his business. He's an excellent student. He's a prominent member of a fraternity here on campus, so his campus involvement is strong. He's made Ohio State a better place. The campus, his reputation is solid as gold here, and yeah, he's. I don't want to say he's exceeded every expectation. I've had very few like that. From day one, when he walks on campus, he was a grown man.
And you mentioned something the other day, I think, when we project, when's Ohio State going to have like an up year when you have all the guys back and that kind of stuff, right? You had so many starters you're missing this year. You said maybe this was a year early, right? And I would have thought maybe people in 14 would have said, well, maybe that's a year early. Because you would look and say 15's the year it's going to happen. But you won it in 14. You're back in the playoff this year. Is it possible that like the year early is actually the year to do it? Because maybe there's not so much other stuff out there?
I think that's a good point. And my friend Roger Goodell, we're going to repeal the third year thing, so they have to come back. So
smart.
Next year's the real year.
But I mean, we're always trying to project
saying,
ahead.
and I'm the same way. I mean, I thought, my closest confidant, my wife, is, how are we going to be this year? I don't know. I think next year's the year. And all of a sudden that darn junior thing comes up.
Yeah. And just, I don't want to belabor this, but you just brought it up. A year ago, after the Fiesta Bowl, we were here and you said, we're going to throw it better next year. Now you're here, you're in the playoff, you made it, but you're saying we're going to throw it better next year. Is there something that didn't go exactly as you hoped with the pass game this year?
Oh, yeah. I thought we'd be better throwing the ball. Whether it be protection, whether it be separation by wideouts, it's not one thing. It's just, and we are. It's just a focus that we're going to work on, and we'll get there.
Back row, Steve.
Yeah, I got 2 things. Thinking back what Nick was asking about, if it would go to eight teams in the playoff, would you rather see an 11-game regular season with the conference championships, or a 12-game schedule and do away with the conference championships?
Clemson. I'm not being disrespectful.
Well, 12 would benefit everybody.
And if I do say something, then I'll be upfront. I haven't given any thought.
Okay, well, we'll scrap that idea. After the Penn State game, Coach Warner talked about how you guys would maybe try and get Isaiah Prince a little bit of help with a tight end or a running back to help scrape in some situations, and just didn't seem against Michigan like he was kind of out on an island there. I don't know. What's the push-pull on that, and will you do something to counteract what happened against Michigan?
Well, we're working on that. Number one is improve the player, which I've never seen a guy work harder in the last 2 weeks since that last game. I mean, ridiculous. Even on days off, he's coming there and getting extra work. And we are. It's not as easy as it sounds because it really limits your other options. So, but those are daily conversations, and that is, we're going to try to do the best we can to help them. But at the end of the day, an offensive line is going to go block that defensive end too.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, Urban, you got 2 All-Americans who are going to be starting on your offensive line. I can't remember covering this team when that's been the case at the same time, at least. What stands out about those 2 fellas? I'm talking about Billy Price and Pat Elflein.
It's so neat. One of the great traditions here, they get a tree. Buckeye Grove will be blessed to have those 2 names on it. And when I'm an old guy, come back and see my 2 guys because I love them. They're great. They're the backbone of who we are and what we do. Zero probability that Ohio State's where we are without them.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're as good a people as you'll ever find. Great students, great people, and exceptional leaders.
Burger Feta, this will be their last, well, maybe their last 2 hurrahs, we'll see. What have you gotten most out of them being around you? I mean, what has rubbed off on you about
from them, I guess,
Well,
from an effort standpoint?
Kind of disappointed in those two guys because, you know, they're just typical losers. They think med school is more important than coaching. I don't understand that. I'm trying to talk them into coaching, and this darn med school keeps getting in the way. That's how much I feel about they can impact other people's lives. Of course, I'm kidding about the med school, but they have great, whatever they choose to do, they're going to have our support. And that's a tough one to say goodbye to, those guys.
I say Berger's an engineer, I think.
But he is, no, he's changing.
Yeah,
He's moving over into exercise.
I got you. Hey, listen, when you watch.
Engineer loser too.
Yeah. You look at Clemson, what just jumps out at you right now defensively about them? They seem to be a lot about the big play. They've given up quite a few points this year on certain occasions. What's the truism you're getting from them right now?
The truism is they're gigantic. They're real big at defensive ends, 310 pounds. Inside, they're 310, 315. They're big, they're highly recruited athletes. You can see that. I think they play a lot of defense, and sometimes that gets them out of whack. But it also causes, I think, they're number one, at least in the big games they played, they're number one in the country. We did all the stats against the teams they're supposed to beat, and then the big games. And they're number one in interceptions and number one in tackles for loss. So those kind of defenses create major issues, but every once in a while one will be given up. It's a little bit like our defense. We're very, very into deny every pass, deny every run. When that happens, every once in a while one goes over the top. But the risk reward, we and I can tell Clemson, they just a little different style than we do because the multiplicity is unbelievable. How many different defenses there are.
I mean, there's a video right now of them dropping all 11 players one time on a pass play.
Yeah.
They end up hitting a pass anyway. It's Virginia Tech. Is that what you're talking about, them being totally unpredictable?
Yeah, it's all about the front and coverages. It's you know, whenever you see evaluation or you do your statistical analysis, you do all percentages, and you say, okay, on first down, they're 60% are this, they're 4%, 6%, 8% this, because it's just so much. There's very low tendencies.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up. We can keep them at one question. I'll get as many as I can. Rob, back row right.
Urban, 4 playoff teams, 4 really good coaches. As competitive as you are, do you ever compare yourself to other coaches, these guys, both positively, negatively, what you can learn?
I compare programs all the time. For example, Clemson was the program that we really studied because I thought their social media approach to recruiting was number one in the country. So our guys tell me we're number one now. We hired a guy just for that reason. I'll look at what Nick Saban does. He's a friend, and I see what he does, and we certainly evaluate how they go about their business. And then Chris Peters has been a friend for a long time, so it's not ourselves, but the program. And I like to study winners. The 3 guys in that playoff are winners. We certainly know what they do.
If I can get you at Larry Johnson, talking to the D lineman players, he said he's a different dude, and that his language is not as salty as a lot of coaches. How did that strike you? How does that play out in the meeting rooms?
Larry. I've grown to Larry, and I are really close now. He's a guy that's hard to get close to. He lives his life in such a private manner. He's got a wonderful family, and his players love him to death. And I see our defense line get better in recruiting. So he's a very valuable member. The whole thing about language, you know, I admire him. I've improved, but still slip.
Far right over here, Bill.
Urban, you said you stressed no turnover so much, and you said years ago when you first came here, you have to play great defense. How do you do that? You don't turn the ball over. It seems that JT holds the ball a lot, waiting for that guy to come wide open. Is that part of coverage sacks? Is that something that he does, you think?
I think that's a blessing and a curse that you sometimes are a little late with a throw because the one thing you'll never hear about our quarterbacks is they're gunslingers. They're kind of risk takers, and we just don't do that. That's not the plan to win, and that's not how we just operate. So he does, but that also makes him one of the most efficient passers in college football. His TD to interception ratio will go down in history as one of the great ones. Does that mean every once in a while maybe a little late with the ball? I see it as well. All you do is try to coach through that.
Second row right, Marla.
I'm just wondering, what does Noah Brown have to do, or the offense have to do, for him to recapture that Oklahoma magic?
Well, we have to target him a little bit more, and he's got to separate a little bit better, and we got to protect the quarterback. It's not one thing, or we fix the one thing. Noah's about back full speed from his injury now. It's really that was a tough injury. But it's not just him. It's
Sorry. Last couple. Todd?
Trevor, why do you think these young guys you have on this team have adapted so well so quickly here? Is it something about young guys coming into college now? Are they more prepared in general to know what to expect, or do you think this group is a little special in terms of how they?
We actually put that on the board. Where did we think, though? For example, a kid from a St. Xavier, a kid from Dayton Wayne. I'm just thinking on top of my head, the top programs in the state. St. Thomas out in Florida, John Bosco out in California, the Jersey school. Sometimes you're getting that kid that's darn near ready to play because he's so well coached in high school. The other kids take 2 years. So obviously, if you have a chance to take a guy from the elite program versus the average program, you'll probably take the guy from the elite because he'll play faster. The other opposite of that's true. You take a young man from maybe a place that he's out of position, this and that, and his ceiling might be higher. So those are all conversations we have, and we kind of hit it right because a lot of these kids were ready to play when we got them.
And final question, second row, our gentleman from Austin, Dan.
Danny Dish from the Austin American-Statesman. Obviously, football fans in our neck of the woods know what they're getting with Coach Herman based on his resume, but what kind of worker are they getting with Coach Herman?
Oh, he's great. He's a guy that likes to have fun. He's a guy that works very hard at his job. He's going to surround himself with elite people. He's got a very good plan in place to. I talk to him still quite often. The biggest message I always give him, and we always talk about, is make sure from A to Z everyone's on the same page. And that's something I think he's going to be exceptional at.
Coach, thank you very much.